Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait. That might be wrong because this is not your average ladies and gentlemen. Can you show with a quick show of hands, like how many developers do we have here? Oh, nice. Almost 50%. How many business owners, founders? Okay. That's kind of 10, 15%. And what about others? You are like leading businesses in existing companies? Okay, cool. So during this session, we'll try to keep as interactive as possible. I have tried to keep the slides minimal, so feel free to interrupt in between, or we'll definitely try to have a longer discussion at the end. Okay. So people do random things across the globe. Many of you might have come across this news from recent months. Companies in China are doing something to increase productivity. I'm not here promoting it, of course, but aren't we doing something similar with GenAI as well? Why? All for increasing productivities, right? And why productivity is so much important? Because it directly impacts the core business, your finances. At the same time, noise is something which always comes along with any new emerging technology, just like GenAI as well. And noise is directly relevant with wastage of resources, time, and effort. Now, for big organizations, it's maybe a small experimental fund, which they can always afford. But for startups, it could be deadly. In fact, I personally had my first startup shut down specifically because we found some very interesting things to work on, just forgot to focus on customers. So today in this talk, we would be talking exactly about our case studies. We have worked on dozen plus products over the last 2 years, and we find there are specific places where one should start based on what you are trying to do, and accordingly you should start at a certain stage. Every company these days, like last 3 days, I have been in the conference talking with people, hearing people talk, and what I hear most often is every company saying, we have our own GenAI LLM built in-house. And every other business leader talking about, we are trying to automate it end-to-end. Now, those are definitely very lucrative use cases, but not for everyone to start with, I would say. So today, we would be focusing exactly what are the places where you can start on creating tangible value. And that's also a place where I believe Indian startups can outpace big tech because they have said. By the way, how many of people here are from big tech? I forgot to ask that. Okay, cool. No offense, but they have decided to keep their core on a specific segment of things around foundational models, enabling the whole ecosystem. And that makes total sense given their size and resources. We will not be focusing on those, but what actually helps startups. By the way, I am a big believer that with advent of generative AI, lots of jobs will be lost and replaced. Everyone has been talking about it. It might be replaced, might not be replaced. I, for one, do believe it will be replaced. At the same time, lots and lots of new opportunities will be coming up, and to find those opportunities and to realize the value in that, we need a lot more startups to come up. So I hope today with this session, we might be able to sow some seeds which might inspire new folks to join into the startup world, find your own companies, and maybe next year around the same time when we are talking, we might have some folks from you all talking here about your stories. Cool. Before that, why should we listen to me? So we have been building AI products for 5+ years now, built solutions which are run 1 billion+ times annually, and built a dozen plus products, including some which have won national and international awards. In AI, not all Gen AI, because there's a lot along with Gen AI which you can incorporate together to create real value. And right now, I'm working as founder of Data with D, and I would not talk a lot about myself because that's not why everyone's here. So these are just some like glimpses from events, mentors, awards, publications. Let's skip that. So, 3 stages of incorporating Gen AI. Instead of diving directly into creating your own models, let's start by understanding where you are and what is the best fit for yourself. First and foremost, try to go for a no-code incorporation. If you are an agency owner, a service business owner, in all these cases, or you are already providing valuable service to some clients, in all these cases, do not go for creating a product right away. I say this because last month itself, we did a case study partnering with a design studio, and we were able to increase the productivity by 10x. The background image is a real book cover developed with an AI workflow with a real designer in place. We were able to complete this within a matter of couple of hours with a higher client satisfaction, and right now it's going into publication. This otherwise would have taken about 7 to 10 days because in design, so let's talk a little bit about design process. How it works is a client comes in with their requirements. They have certain ideas in mind. Ki I want maybe peach colors. I am building something, a book on happiness and joy. So something soothing. And along, you just capture all those requirements. Right after that, the designer focuses on doing a certain amount of research about a day or two around the trending stuff going in that direction. After that, based on their research, they make hypotheses. They understand client requirements and match that with the latest trends and research. And with those hypotheses and imaginations, they share concepts back with client. The concepts which are actually liked by clients, so they all have their own rules, like we would be providing 2 drafts or 3 drafts for free. But that's it. Beyond that, if you want to recreate the design, it's a lot of work for us, so you got to pay again. And clients at this point are always like, we got to decide and move forward with something, and we can't always pay again and again in the hopes of maybe next design is better. So both the sides have to make a trade-off, decide on something, move on. That's how it actually works. What we did was, based on client requirements, we were able to, first of all, accelerate the process of research, which would take more than a day, in just a matter of minutes. Based on that, we used 4 to 5 different existing tools. Midjourney, DALL-E, blah, 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 Meta AI, which you have right now in your WhatsApp. Culminated more than 50 options similar to client's requirements, shared those across with client, and client was easily able to pick, yeah, these 4 or 5 align with my, like these 4 or 5 appeal to me. Based on that, the actual hard-skilled work which the designer had to put in was just 1 hour before we were able to refine to the final draft, which was actually accepted. The same process allowed designer to be focusing on more of their creative aspects, remove the frustrating parts from the process, which leaves clients with always this key, hey, maybe I could have gotten something better. And this is something which is replicable across industry segments. In fact, I was talking with folks in different parts yesterday itself, and we have found that people in banking, people in business operations, sales, they're already doing many of these kinds of automations in-house, and that's one of the cases out of dozens where they have found real value. So if you fall into these parts, do not start with building products. Start by incorporating it in your existing workflows, get tangible value, and then move on to the next stage, which is low-code API integrations. Build something which exactly aligns with your requirements. APIs, of course, this is the so-called ChatGPT wrapper, which is also considered kind of taboo in the industry because people are like, hey, you have built yet another startup which is a ChatGPT wrapper, and tomorrow if ChatGPT just becomes better, well, you're out of the game. That's true. If your core product is only generative AI and you are still using APIs, probably you are exactly right there. But if your product is not Gen AI, it's a value-adding feature. In those cases, do not go ahead thinking along the lines of, hey, if we can train our own model today, then it will become proprietary, and tomorrow we will be able to sell to n number of more people, and let's start by training and fine-tuning models. Not the right place. Many of the people are actually doing this. In fact, one of my previous companies, I found they wasted around 80 lakhs in just a matter of 2 months because of exactly this reason. And when I was talking about this story, in the speakers lounge yesterday, I found like 7 or 8 other speakers saying, oh yes, we also had similar things across the last year. So yeah, training models, fine-tuning models, proprietary models, they all are good and fancy, but maybe not the right place to start with. Especially when you have a solution, working solution, never scrape it if people are paying for it. Start adding value to it with APIs, and when you reach a certain level, you should start thinking about training models. One of the most interesting things here is, these are the cases when industries are already existing. There are potential solutions in the market. You can think about GenAI APIs as a value-adding feature on top of those. Try working with integrating some of the APIs, and because it's an existing solution with you, probably you have some clients who can do pilots with you. Go ahead, do that, see if it's a value for which they are willing to pay more, then take a call. So, case study 2. Ja4U is one of our core AI products. It's a 3D AI product, not a Gen AI product, where we take images. I think in Kitwe. Yes. Where we take input images of e-commerce products to create 3D of the same, along with an interactive experience. By the way, if any of you have visited Chennai airport, you might have seen some of these Nataraj statues. We are working with India's largest jewelry brand on the same. And what you see are all AI-created experiences, not generated. Now, this was already a value-adding product. Like, you could just take images of your product and get these kinds of experiences. But the biggest issue with this was, it was integrated on your product display page where you press next and you can see it on yourself. But if you want to see another product, you have to actually go out of the experience, navigate back, find another product, go back to it. Now, that's not a smooth experience, especially when you're shopping and you want to browse through a lot of products. And that's where we found something interesting to try.
Welcome to our shop.
Can we have the sound, please?
Wonderful to see you. How can I assist you today in finding something truly special?
Hi there. I'm looking for some jewelry for my sister's wedding. Something unique would be fantastic.
You've come to the perfect place. Our 3D try-on feature will help you find the ideal pieces. Let's start with bangles. We have 2 exquisite designs, the flower bangle and the Lakshmi bangle. Would you like to try them on virtually?
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Here's our flower bangle, inspired by nature's elegance. Notice how it complements your wrist beautifully. Would you like to see the Lakshmi bangle next?
Yes.
The Lakshmi bangle, symbolizing prosperity and grace. Its intricate design is perfect for such a joyous occasion. How do you feel about these options?
They're both gorgeous. Can I also try on a ring?
Certainly. We have an exquisite red eye ring that might be just what you're looking for. It's light, elegant, and the red gemstone is absolutely captivating. Let's try that on next.
I love it. It's perfect.
Fantastic.
This was the first version which we built with our existing 3DI solution plus APIs. We were able to create this within just a week. Definitely not the best thing. Apparently, when we took it to customers, we realized people don't actually want to see face of certain someone, even if it's generated. They were just happy talking while in the experience. So the final version has been refined, simplified, but the idea is it just took us a week to actually try out a new experience altogether. And with the final version, we were able to get 60% higher customer satisfaction while making e-commerce purchases. Wow. But that's very interesting because we already had an existing product in a different segment. So moving on, by the way, I'll be coming back to this second segment where you are talking about Gen AI applications, which are not just Gen AI. But before we dive into it, when should we then go on, train, and fine-tune our own models? When should we dive into R&D? These are the places where one or more of these things are true. So either generation is your core offering. Of course, in that case, you can't always rely on APIs. Or maybe you are working in a segment where you know it's kind of a gray area, and even if it's very much similar to what ChatGPTs and Geminis offer, they would never compete with you. Many of you might know about character AI, I assume, right? A segment which definitely ChatGPT is capable to do, but just because of its personality and guidelines, it would not dive into. Or you actually have proprietary and unique data. Now, proprietary is a very fancy term. Very easily, it could misguide us, thinking that, hey, we have maybe 10,000 users' chats on our platform, and that's something which we only have. So that's proprietary, right? But more important is the data actually unique? So you have chats, but then all these big tech companies also have access to lots of chat data. Are your chats significantly different than general conversations? An easy test for that could be just take 2 or 3 of your data points, give it to ChatGPTs and Geminis, existing models, and ask them to generate more such similar data points. If the generated 100 data points have very much similarity with your actual chats, probably in that case, yes, you have proprietary data, but it's not unique and it's not going to create any kind of moat. So again, not a place where you can bet on, let's fine tune and our model would be better. Third case study. This is apparently something which recently got a lot of interest from myself and some senior folks in the industry. Making primary healthcare accessible for everyone across the globe, for 8 billion plus people. For most of the population, healthcare is actually still a far-fetched dream. They do not have access or resources at times to reach out to even a physician for small problems, like real, tangible pain points. Can GenAI provide those guidances? Well, yes. I'm not sure. Has any of you tried asking ChatGPT or any of these models, hey, I am having fever, or a mosquito or a random insect bit me, and what can I do to cure it? Anyone tried any of the healthcare users with ChatGPTs and Geminis? Okay, we see few hands. What did you get as response? It would definitely have given you some ideas about what it might be, followed by, best thing could be you should go and visit a physician, right? So it's one of those places where, yes, these models have capabilities, but it's a gray area. They do not want to risk it. What if those 1% cases when they were wrong about the hypothesis of curing, what would happen? In fact, I was also super scared about it, but on this project, we were working with folks who have created national health policy, Ayushman Bharat. We have folks who are like leading Europe's uh, council for like regulating AI solutions. What we learned was, yes, it's a regulated space. You should care about it. At the same time, what about that significantly huge part of population who do not have access to it altogether? So, despite all the fears, they were saying it's a new entity. If you can actually help even 95 out of 100 people who do not have access to healthcare, well, you have already been creating value. And here we are not talking about going with actual critical health cases. In those cases, we still go ahead and direct them to physicians. So that's some of the case studies which I could share. Given the limitation of time, we would move on, try to conclude it. Where do we feel most value can be created? And that's segment second, where with use of niche domain specific UI UX, which simplifies things just because many of the people here would have used maybe ChatGPT for writing marketing posts, right? But so many times you would have found that it's cumbersome. You have to do it once, twice, thrice. It's a sequence of questions which you have to do every time. A simple UI UX on leveraging those APIs, which actually many of the startups have built, helps you when you get a like same post in a single click. You are saving lots of time and trouble. So good UI UX has value. Making use of agentic design patterns. So these are all things which are like instead of single shot output, you chain your outputs through different methods of reflection. Okay, I'll not dive into exactly the design patterns here, but this is the technology behind O1. So O1 doesn't actually have a much better GPT model. It's not GPT-5 or 6 or something like that. It's just same GPT-4os with ability to talk to themselves and self-correct. That's where design patterns lie, and that's also a space where many of the niche use cases could benefit with your own domain expertise. You are in the loop AI workflows, proprietary data integrations, we have talked about many of these things, but immense value can be unlocked in your specific use cases by not even training or fine-tuning models, but focusing solely on customers. And as Steve Jobs said, I think this is more apt than ever before in this GenAI era, that you should start with the customer experience first and then work backwards towards the technology. Not like, hey, GenAI is the next big thing. Everyone says it, we have tried it, we feel it's powerful, so let's build something with GenAI. So that's where I would like to conclude. Thank you, and let's open for questions.